So the CLAT paper standard is high this time, very high. And one thing that the sample paper clearly tells us that it is not going to be easy because it is not possible to prepare everything under the sun, including the endless judgments. But there is a silver lining. The sample paper clarifies the objective of the CLAT Consortium. A, they want to test your awareness about the legal issues. How alert are you around your surroundings along with your knowledge of law? B, the paper signifies that you can complete the required portion and crack CLAT if you prepare in the right direction. Now here, one by one I'll be telling you the absolute must things that you should be preparing for your CLAT 2020 preparation. The first is recent Supreme Court decisions. Now why am I saying this? Because in the sample paper we saw that the paragraphs were directly extracted from the recent Supreme Court decisions. So this is an absolute must. Now I understand that you must be thinking that at this hour it is impossible to cover recent decisions. And mind you, when I'm saying recent, I'm not limiting myself only to the period of 2019 to 20. No. For the safety purpose, I'm going back till 2017 and from that date covering all important decisions till 2020. Now, by the end of this video, I'll be sharing with you a foolproof strategy. My strategy, how am I planning to cover the entire portion for CLAT PG 2020. So stay tuned. Now the second important weapon of the arsenal is general legal knowledge. Now this will help you pick out the right answer and also help you decide whether you should be attempting the question or not. Let's have a look at a sample question. Suppose a paragraph pertaining to rule of law is present and the question asks from which case law rule of law was added in the basic structure doctrine. Now whenever we hear the word basic structure doctrine, automatically Keshav Bharti case comes to our mind. But now let's look at the options. A. Vaman Rao case, B. Minerva Mills case, C. Indira Sahni case and D. Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan case. Now what I'm trying to signify through this example is the objective of the CLAT Consortium. They will not set the paper to test your memory but your knowledge of the law. Now here I would like to discuss a strategy. See, whenever I've set for an exam, it is really difficult for me to resist myself from attempting all the questions, even in the event that I don't know answer to a particular question. All of us from the student community know this as the Tuukka strategy. But this time onwards, the paper comes pre-attached with a filter. Let's have a look at it. Now, there's an objective part of 100 marks and a subjective part of 50 marks. Those who score 40% in this part, only their answers will qualify for the subjective part. Only their answers will be checked. So, a good strategy here will be to resist yourself from attempting those questions you are completely clueless about. However, if you are able to eliminate one or two bad options, then definitely attempt the question. Because you see, out of 100 questions, let's take a 50-50 probability. 50 are correct answers and 50 are incorrect answers. So the positive score becomes 50 and the negative score becomes minus 12.5 and your total score will be 37.5. As a result, your essay part, your subjective part will not be checked. Now let's apply the strategy. Let's say 50 questions you marked were correct and this time you only marked 30 questions and left 20 questions you were unsure about. So now your positive score is 50 and your negative score is minus 7.5 and your final score becomes 42.5 and now you will qualify for the subjective part. So you see, lesser wrong attempts and higher the chances of success. Now let's talk about the third and the most dreadful question. What all do we need to prepare for CLAT PG 2020? Now we've already discussed that you need to hit hard on the recent cases. But along with this, you also need to prepare landmark cases. Why? Because if a recent case overruled a landmark judgment, then even that becomes important. For example, in recent times, sedition laws have been all over in news. So sedition laws are important and because of sedition laws, the Kedarnath judgment is important. And if any recent judgment or any recent discussion happened with regard to that, even that becomes important. So recent cases, landmark cases. Along with it, one more component is basics of the subject. Now this part will help you read, understand and comprehend the passages in a much better and faster way. So basics of the subject is very important. Now let's talk about our strategy. How are we going to cover the maximum portion for CLAT PG 2020? For that, let's take a simple example. Now let's take one single example that almost everyone knows everything about. COVID-19 and look at the various legal issues that are attracted by it. So instantly we saw the imposition of lockdown and curfew. So section 144 of CRPC becomes important and the various punishment clause related to it also becomes important. Then we'll also see the importance of force majeure or vis majeure clauses. So with the advent of COVID-19, we'll see a lot of frustration of contracts and contingent contracts happening. So section 32 and 56 of the Indian Contract Act also comes into play. Another highlight of this entire event was the Epidemic Disease Act and Essential Services Act. Next, let's talk about the financial distress. So all the legislations, all clauses talking about protection from creditors becomes important, and along with it, important merger and acquisition transactions also becomes important. Another popping legal issue that we've been hearing from Delhi and Pune is the clashes between landlords and tenants. So the Duty of Landlord, Transfer of Property Act also comes into play. Now my strategy for my CLAT Crash Course 2020 will be to strategically select all important legal developments that happened from, let's say, 2017-2018 till 2020. Then together we'll analyze, understand and form opinions about these legal developments. Now why is this part important? Because this part will directly help you in the objective part, plus it will also help you in the essay writing part. For example, you must have seen in the sample paper, question number 1 and 3 of the subjective part were quite open-ended. They wanted your opinion on that particular subject. Form an opinion either for or against and then back it up with your knowledge of law, legal and logical arguments. For example, Uniform Civil Code. What are your views about it? Now with almost a month left for CLAT 2020, you can either decide to do all of this all by yourself or come learn with me. You can know everything about my CLAT Crash Course 2020 in the link here or in the description box. If you have any doubts about my crash course or the sample paper or the pattern of the CLAT 2020, do let me know in the comment box. That's it for now. See you in the next class. Bye bye.